Why do coffee shops have cancer warning signs? You see, I was in a Starbucks a few days ago and I saw a sign that said, "Warning, this establishment may contain products that are known to cause cancer." And I kind of shrugged it off because I thought, okay, maybe it's just talking about the food packaging, maybe it's talking about some of the food products, but I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And I did, and I found that it has something to do with something called acrylamide. And what acrylamide is an actual byproduct. You see, acrylamide has been used in water filtration and paper manufacturing for a long period of time. It wasn't until like 1994 that it was deemed potentially cancer-causing. But we didn't really worry too much about it because it wasn't until 2002 that we found that acrylamide was prevalent in our own food. Now here's the thing, acrylamide isn't something that's being artificially added. It's not something that we can get mad at manufacturers about. It's not something that we can get mad at food establishments about. It's not like they're adding it as a preservative. It's actually kind of a natural process. But the fact is there are some scary links to cancer with it. You see, what happens is acrylamide is produced through what's called the Maillard reaction. When you are browning food, if you've ever browned some turkey or you've browned some ground meat, where it's starting to get that nice taste where it's slightly browned, well, you have acrylamide that is formed during that period of time. That Maillard reaction is the breakdown of amino acids combined with the reduction of sugar, creating an acrylamide response. So that is exactly what happens, and that's why at coffee shops, when they roast the coffee, you see that happening. So it's not like it's this artificial thing we have to be completely upset about. We just have to be somewhat cognizant of it. But let's talk about the issues that acrylamide can cause within the body. You see, for the most part, acrylamide is linked to central nervous system issues and peripheral nervous system issues, basically meaning that if you consume copious amounts of it over a longer period of time, you may be able to cause a little bit of neurological damage. But the part that we are most focused on has to do with the fact that it is linked to thyroid tumors, it's linked to mammary gland tumors, and it's linked to testicular tumors. Now that is what we really have to worry about and why most Starbucks and most coffee shops are required to put up a sign saying that they may have products that contain acrylamide. But let's talk a little bit more about how you can reduce the effects of acrylamide and how you can be a little bit more cognizant of it. So first things first, you may want to think about reducing your overall coffee intake. If you're a relatively rampant coffee drinker, meaning you're having more than 3 or 4 cups of coffee per day, then you could be getting between 40 and 50% of your overall acrylamide intake just from coffee alone. And that's not counting all the other browning aspects. So acrylamide is formed whenever there's any kind of browning or high heat. So for example, French fries, things like that. When you're roasting any kind of food like that, a lot of processed foods, it goes through that process and creates more of it. So a lot of the American diet specifically contains high levels of acrylamide. Coffee just so happens to be very concentrated in it. Now, specifically when we're talking about coffee, instant coffee and coffee substitutes can contain 3 to 5 times as much of that acrylamide as simply roasted coffee. And that's simply because of the process involved in creating those kind of products. Now, a question that a lot of people bring up when they start to understand the effects of acrylamide are, do different species of coffee have different levels of acrylamide? Well, the answer is no. It doesn't have to do with the specific food. It has to do with the roasting process. The way that you can reduce the amount of acrylamide that you're consuming is by choosing a darker roast. Because what has been discovered is that when that acrylamide byproduct occurs, it's usually happening in the early roasting phase. So as you're roasting coffee and you're taking it through the rest of the roasting phase, that acrylamide actually begins to be broken down. So the lighter the roast, the more acrylamide it contains. So at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you to avoid coffee altogether. I'm here to explain why you see those cancer signs. Because to be honest, we have it instilled in us that every time we see those signs, we should be frightened. And I don't want you to think that you absolutely have to abstain from coffee. I just want to educate you to make the right decisions when you are choosing your coffee, or when you're browning your food, or opting for those French fries. As always, keep it locked in here on my videos. I'll see you in the next one.